And this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Joshua 1:8. Yes. All praises, all praises, all praises. Right now we're into the book of the law, the book of the law. Yes, I am Mr. Clay, and we're in the law. Yes, we don't have the exact book of the law, but we have this historical account of what is contained in the law, is what we're saying. Now we're going to go back to book of Exodus. Exodus. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you who have tuned in and scrolled down, or however you got here, we thank God for you anyway. The book of the law. Now, Exodus chapter 21 is the book that we were going down the scroll. Exodus chapter 21. And we were like Exodus chapter 21 and 25. We're going to begin there where we had left off. He says, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. If a man smite the eye of his servant, or one who was sold to him because of he was in debt, or by a crime that he has committed, yes, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. If he smite out his manservant's tooth, his manservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox, or your dog, or your goat, or whatever, should attack a person, in this instance, if your ox or your goat, or gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. Now, he says again now in verse 29, but if the ox were wont to push with his horn in time past, in other words, you know that this ox was mean, you know that this dog was mean, you know that you did not do anything to try to tie this ox up or keep this ox contained that he get not out, or you did not cause your dog or your animal to be contained so that he would not harm anyone because he had tried it before. He says now, but if the ox won't push his horn in time past, it had been testified to his owner that he had not kept him in, but that he had killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner shall be put to death. In other words, it's like you just caused the death of a man or a woman. It's not by mistake. At first it was by mistake, but now he's saying, no, you have committed murder. This is under the murder clause. This will be under the murder clause, okay? Now, if there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. In other words, instead of taking his life because he was so negligent for his animal, that if the one who was hurt decides, well, give me this amount of money and it shall be well with you. And if the judges agree, then it shall be so. But the animal still shall be put to death, according to this. This is fairness. God is just being fair. That's all. The nations are not fair when it comes to laws. In America, Europe, all other nations are not fair because they do not go to the law and they do not go with equity. In other words, regardless of whether you my brother, father, sister, mother, or you are a near kin, or you look like me, the same skin as me, or speak the same language as me, we still have to come under one law. And God says one law. Whether I'm rich or poor, deaf, dumb, or blind, or it doesn't matter. One law. If you do a crime with God, God says you will pay for it. He will judge you according to the crime that you have done, and sentence you accordingly. And this is the sentence of one who have done so, he shall be put to death. Now, whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this punishment it shall be done unto him. See, we're talking about a government. A government. We're talking about the government. Using basic fair things about neglect and all these. It doesn't have all these loopholes to where a lawyer or some judge has to listen to, and then they decide on whether, you're not light enough or black enough or rich enough or whatever to affect. It affects their sentence, and then you've been given gifts. A judge cannot accept bribes. Many judges accept bribes. They accept bribes, and it blinds the eyes of the wise. Yes. He says now, he goes again and says, now, if it be laid on him a sum of money, now we go to verse 31. We're in Exodus chapter 21, verse 31. Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this punishment shall it be done to him. This is the law. This is what we call, is the law done away with? They're still practicing somewhat of the law in these different continents, nations, and cities. So, give me a break. This is why I do not condone the New Testament. That's why I say it's just trash. Now, if an ox shall push a manservant or maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver. Oh, is that what they gave for Jesus? They must have got it from here or something. I guess it was Jesus the ox or something? No. You see, they get things and they make it up. They use different points of the Bible out of the book of Enoch, the book of Jasher, and all these books, and they concocted and made a good argument to a lie to control people. Just as they did with before that, they did that with the Egyptians. The book of the dead, they did it with the book of the different laws and everything they had in the Egyptian society, and then they called it, they made their gods up with their different, should I say, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers. Yes, and these were the gods in the Greek and Roman societies. And then they find out the people couldn't be controlled as much with those, so they chose to take the way of the law, the way of Moses, and so we can manipulate this. And so over time they learned how to manipulate it to get the people to believe such a thing. Now, says now, and if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, 34, the owner of the pit shall make it good and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. In other words, what's he saying? You do with the dead beast what you want to do. You don't dig the hole, or it's just like you go in your city streets. The cities usually cover the holes up with some type of metal barrier to keep you from falling in, or to keep a vehicle from becoming disabled by falling in that hole or deep pit. Yes, he says, now if you dig this, you're going to cover it up so that nobody falls in it. No animal, no person, really. And if one man's ox hurt another's that he died, then he shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it. In other words, you have an ox, cow, or whatever, a beast that is lawful to eat. Now he said, in the dig ox they shall divide. In other words, this dividing this ox, you're going to eat it. You're going to take part of that box, slaughter it for your family, and he's going to take the other part of the ox and slaughter it for his family. Now, if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past, and his owner hath kept them not in, then he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead ox shall be his own. Excuse me. Now let's go to verse 22. Verse 22. We're still in the law. We're reading the law out of the book of Exodus. So what God is saying is that if your animal of domesticated animal decides to kill another. See, you have to realize they were farmers. They didn't have cars and buses, so we have to sublimate these things to make them fit our lives today. And you really can't do much for it because the heathen have deemed God's laws null and void and have concocted with a little, just like they did the New Testament with a little, they are with their ideology also. They have done this. Their ideas embedded in their laws, and even the law of the Most High, even embedded in their laws, to the point where they have loopholes. Now, loopholes usually is based on your color, your financial status, your social status, and your stature. Oh, he's a good-looking boy. He shouldn't be that way. Okay. This is why God says eye for eye too. He knows, man, how evil men can be. Even his own, even Israel. He says now, in chapter 22 and verse 1, if a man shall steal an ox, this comes under theft. See, this is what we saw. See, he came with a general. This is you had to covet the ox before you could steal the ox. Some kind of way you desire. You've been watching that ox. This is why he said, thou shalt not covet. Okay? This is why he says that. Now, they say 10 commandments. The heathen do not know the 10. They're talking to the people that do not know the 10 commandments. When you sit down and you start reading this law, you will understand what God is saying. Take it slow and learn it. They do not know, so they come against it in many ways and they don't understand it, period. And then here you go regurgitating something they said, and they say, well, they say the law is done away with. You don't even know what the law says. Come on here. And if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep, it will kill it or sell it. He shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. In other words, you're gonna get more than what you stole. And the same thing if a thief comes in your house, and the same thing happens if a thief steals your things and there's a monetary value put on it, then whoever buys your freedom will pay that money to the one you stole it from. This is how it happens. This is how you get into servitude. This is how you get into being what the West considers a slave. But you're indentured because you have done something that you shouldn't have done. And now you will serve another because you have transgressed another person's person and transgressed the Most High. Many of you will not get out until more, and this time at the death of the high priest, or sometimes it will be that 49 years or that 7th year. They will not get out of their servitude or their bondage. However you would declassify it. Now, if a thief be found in verse 2, breaking up, he's breaking up, he's found, see, we're talking about Old English, breaking up, and be smitten that he die. In other words, he breaking up trying to find him something to sell. And you smite him, you shoot him, and he die, there shall be no bloodshed for you. In other words, you're clear. He had no business in your house. It wasn't none of his. He had no business trying to take your things, and you finally caught him and you shoot him. No. But if the sun be risen upon him, in other words, if he survive it, and there shall be blood shed for him, for he shall make full restitution, not only to God, but to the person he was found in their home. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. This is what I'm telling you. This was the servitude of an Israelite. It was debt. They didn't have no jails. No, not no prisons. No, it wasn't like that. Now, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore it double. In other words, you're getting back your ox or sheep, but he's going to restore that back too. I mean, if you're hungry, if you need something, ask for it. Maybe they'll give it to you, maybe they won't. If not, keep it moving. Ask someone else. This is where you get your beggars from. He says now in verse 5, if a man shall cause a field or a vineyard to be eaten, it shall be put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field. Of the best of his own field and of the best of his own vineyards he shall make restitution. Now as they were farmers, cattlemen, they had crops. This was ancient Israel. Well, you can't call yourself Israel, and then you don't have a garden or plants outside or something, or some not chickens. Chickens is an unclean beast. Chickens were derived from the land of Thailand. They're an hybrid beast. They're really scavengers. They will eat anything. Look it up. It's just there. You will not find in the Old Testament where any have eaten a cock or a beast such as a chicken. They ate, even God gave them quail, which is a clean beast. Pheasant is too. Quail, and you can say that these things, quail, well, pheasants are, I think they're indigenous to, I don't exactly know, to the Americas. Yes, very good birds that I've come across, especially with gravy and rice. But either way, he says, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or sheep, he shall restore double. In other words, you're going to give 2 ox for 1 ox, 2 sheep for 1 sheep, or you're going to be sold. Theft. This is how people theft, because their money was eating. Whether it wasn't in money, they bartered a lot back in that day. And if a man, verse 5, if a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, or the best of his own field, and the best of his own vineyards, he shall make restitution. In other words, here you got a goat, he's eating up everything in somebody else's vineyards, where he's going to sell for money, or make wine with to sell it for money. Then what he says, he shall make restitution. As the judges, or as even the Levites were judges in certain ways, shall deem, yes. And if a fire break out in verse 6, if a fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of corn or the standing corn in the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall make restitution. In other words, you ain't got no business smoking in no field or making no fire to keep you warm next to some dry corn. Because some of the corn they use to grind and make meal, and what would happen if you started a fire, that corn would catch fire quick. So again, that's how many were sold into servitude. They didn't have any money, but they did the things the wrong way. This is why it's so important for us to teach our children the law. You're in the United States. Children should start learning the law. Whether you're in Europe or Africa or Asia or China, children should learn the law, the general law, the Constitution. They should learn it. in depth, because there's so many deceivers in this life, and the enforcement, the judicial system, even the, should I say, the lawyers and corporations, they all use these things to deceive just the common man. So children should know the law in form of the Constitution, and in those various states they should learn the law too, because it's just a wicked world in these days. And even if the law works or don't work for you, at least you know it, or know what limitations you can have. Can you defend yourself against an enforcer and be justified? You have to know the law in order to reckon such a thing. Because not in all places enforcers can do anything they want. Many do that because many of us do not know the law. You don't have to quote the law to them. You do what you have to do, what the law says you should do, and if they go any further, then you have to take further action. However that should be. Forget not your power tools. Okay? If the sun be risen upon him, and there shall be blood. Okay, we're going down a little further. He says now, in verse 7, if a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money, he's talking about banks really, or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, and if the thief be found, let him pay double. In other words, he's going to be sold to servitude so that he can pay, because apparently he didn't have no money. If the thief be found not, this is the same thing as theft, under the topic of theft, thou shalt not steal. If the thief shall be found, then the master of the house, these are the sentences of the judgment of this person. The judgment is he stole. The sentence is what? If the thief be found, then the master of the house shall be brought into the judges, and see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. In other words, it has to be proven. Today we're proven by what? Fingerprints. They're proven by DNA and all kind of stuff. We have that technology in this day and time that we can find out. And if so, he says in verse 9, for all manner of trespasses, whether it be ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of loss, things which another challenges to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges. And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. It's what God is saying. In other words, if you can prove this man or this woman stole your things to the judges in your province, your city, your municipality, or whatever you have, then whoever have taken that. But these days, even the cities and the states, they take away from those who have been violated. They say, oh, you should have insurance. But yet they will put this person in jail. But yet this person will not pay anything, but they will make this person do labor, whereas they will make money and take the money that belongs to you, to themselves. It's another form. It's a theft for a theft. Is what it is. You shouldn't have to have insurance if they should say, well, we're going to take this guy into prison. Here's your money. And we're going to work him until he pays it all back to us. Now that is how it should be done. But no. Wicked is this world. Now, verse 10 in Exodus 22, verse 10. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep, it's the same thing as money, and it die or be hurt or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of the I am be between them both, that he hath not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. In other words, the beast just died. Maybe it was sick when he gave it to you. Something to that effect. And so if the neighbor swear that it before God, excuse me, before God and before the judges, or whom he knows is God, then there's nothing else done, because apparently something was wrong with the animal when you told him to watch my dog, to watch my cat, or your domestic animals. Verse 12, and if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution to the owner thereof. In other words, he's caught with the stolen items of the owner, he shall make restitutions. You take a toothbrush or electric toothbrush and you steal it, and I'm just going to the petty stuff. You have to notice that a lot of petty things carry a heavier weight than those things they do that are on a grand scale. It really is true. I mean, a man he can take millions of dollars and he spend a plush life in a federal prison, where you take you might steal $2, and here you are on A block, where the most dangerous criminals are. See, even in the penal system, the judgment of the penal system, many are caused to be discriminated against. In other words, the ones that commit the crimes of the most heinous and that steal the most money should be in the most degrading cells. The petty thief is really hatred. The petty thief should not be in those things, or it should be equity. In other words, one law for everyone. If I'm going to make a prison, I'm going to put you in there regardless of how you had lived the lavish life or how you look. I don't care. One law for everyone. You cannot do these. These things are abomination before the Most High. According to this, yes. Now, if her father utterly refused to give, he says, now, here we go again. If the owner therefore be with it and shall make it good, if he be a hired thing, and it came to us hire. In other words, you borrowed something, or an ox to plow your field, and something happens. You borrow. 14 says, if a man borrow out of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof be not with it, he shall surely make it good. In other words, they plowed and this thing died, or you might have overworked the beast, but you're going to make it good, or else you're going to be sold. Period. This is what God is saying. Fair is fair. You're going to pay restitution for what you have done for this man. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, if I am engaged to a woman, or a woman is engaged to me, we are as married before the I am, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. In other words, there is no escape. You're going to endow her to be your wife. And if her father utterly refused to give her, but yet this is where they come in with fornication. It's really a form of adultery. Now, here it is. You say, thou shalt not commit adultery. This is what it was for. You enticed a man and a woman, and here they are. They're laying down. They done their copulation, and next thing you know, you think that you're just going to get away with it? Oh, I done knocked that off, bruh. Yeah, I done knocked a few of them off. All of them should have been your wives. Or else, this is what he says. He shall surely endow her to be, in verse 17, if her father utterly refuse to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. In other words, you enticed a woman. Now, I don't know if there's nothing that says anything about those who have played the whore. No. But he's talking about virgins, those who have never had sex in this instance. Or who's grown up and they never have sex. Usually these are young teenagers in this day and time. And sometimes you wonder. Now, he says, if her father utterly refused to give her to him, he shall pay the money according to the dowry of virgins. So the dowry of virgins is found in the law. What is the dowry of virgins? Let's see if it's in this law as we continue in the law. Now, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. This is where we're going to stop at. A witch. What is a witch? You have these children-friendly channels that show witchcraft and witches. They show soothsaying and tarot cards. They show all manner of things that God forbid. And yet we are fascinated with these things, and it tends to where many of our children and young adults start practicing these things in order to have power. Just as you have your superhero movies and you want to be a savior of a people and all these things, to think that it's good and wind up, you find out yourself you've gotten into demonology and what they would call juju or voodoo or whatever it is that you wish bad upon your neighbor. And God says such a person, you cannot just accuse a person, you have to prove these things. He said, they shall not live. This is against the first commandment, because they have put something or someone before the I am, the Almighty. Yes, they have. And with that, if we obey these things and do these things before the Most High, according to our ability, because many in these societies, we are restricted to a lot of things, and the government will not see to these things, so that we might have a righteous and a safe society. And if we do these things, we will have Peace.